This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking with Nick Pittinger, Vice President of Data Services at Decisiv. Nick, always great to see you.
Good to see you as well, Jason.
So for the uninitiated, maybe those who have missed us before, you are a reoccurring guest here on the show, which I always appreciate. You always bring some very exclusive truck service data, quarter over quarter through the Decisiv platform. It has millions of service operations running through it in a quarter, and we are diving into quarter three of 2024. So we got to think back a little bit. Quarter three of last year. Those are the service trends we're talking about in this episode. And we saw a little bit of a dip in quarter over quarter service operations, Q3 last year compared to the prior quarter, Q2, with a year over year increase in service activity as a whole. How do you make sense of the quarter over quarter dip with the overall year increase?
Yeah, the 1,059,058 service operations managed on the Decisiv SRM platform in Q3 represent a 3.6% decrease from Q2, like you mentioned. This also followed a 4.6% drop from the first quarter. So, things have been trending down a little bit. This also comes after we saw two consecutive quarterly increases of 2.5% in Q4 of 2023 and 10.8% in Q1 of 2024. The continuing downward trend in quarter-over-quarter service activity can likely be attributed in large part to the ongoing addition by fleets of new vehicles requiring fewer repairs. Year over year, as you mentioned, based on the most recent data, the number of service operations on the Decisiv SRM platform increased by 4.5%. This is indicating the impact of higher freight volumes and mileage between the third quarters of 2023 and 2024. The latest growth marked the third consecutive year-over-year rise following increases of 8.0% in Q1 of 2024 and 7.3% in Q2.
So it's kind of, I always like to think about it, kind of almost like the stock market thing. There might be dips if you're looking and kind of drilling in those quarter over quarter, but overall service activity is continuing to kind of increase there year over year. Within the systems, one of the coolest things about the Decisiv SRM is you're tracking everything through the system, all these service operations, the more than a million service operations in this quarter. You're doing it by VMRS codes. Do those systems at the system level there, we talked last time about seasonal maintenance and repair. Do the highest and lowest service volumes reflect that as we get into Q3 2024?
We're definitely seeing a couple systems that have seasonal activity, primarily in three of the systems that come to mind: cooling, fuel systems, and then lastly, air conditioning, heating, and ventilating systems, all in combined code. When compared to the other VMRS systems that we track, these three systems tend to consistently rank within the top 10 when compared to the others. For our most recent analysis in quarter three of 2024, air conditioning, heating, and ventilating was fifth, cooling system was sixth in volume, and fuel system was seventh. We tend to see these volumes increase substantially in both the fourth quarter as trucks are being prepared for winter driving, and again in the second quarter in preparation for the issues that arise due to the summer heat.
Right, perfect. And I think we did, if we go back, I'm going to go back and look at it because I believe we made a few predictions there on that last episode there. And I think we did pretty good. When I say we, like I did anything, I asked the question, you did the prediction. But I think you were right in line there with last time that we talked about that.
Yeah, we definitely threw some predictions out there. Last time we talked and I projected that we wouldn't see any service volumes significantly up or down in the three systems we just discussed. I think I did pretty good. In fact, two of the three VMRS systems were down slightly in Q3. Cooling system was barely down by 0.1%. Air conditioning, heating, and ventilating was also down slightly by 2.7%. Fuel system was one that was the biggest one that moved out of the three, where that one was down the most with a decrease of 7.7%. We do expect to see seasonal maintenance trending up again next quarter in Q4, when we'll likely see fuel system and cooling system activity increasing, while AC, heating, and ventilating significantly decreasing.
For sure. And it's kind of fun looking at the delay there in the data then, too. We look at these quarters, right? Because when we're looking at Q4 data, then we'll be getting into Q2 here in 2025 when we expect to see other shifts there. So just kind of fun. We'll stay on that as we continue to roll out more data here. One of the things you did mention earlier that I kind of want to dig into was that how the mileage and freight volumes impact service activity. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Year over year, there were increases in service activity in the Decisiv SRM platform for 13 out of the 25 VMRS system codes that we're covering. This is down from 20 in the previous quarter. The largest year-over-year increases were indeed for transmission main manual with a 45%, 45.7 specifically, percent increase, and transmission automatic clocked in with the fifth largest increase, up 10.6%. As you mentioned, some of the other systems with large increases were axles, up 33%, wheels, rims, and hubs and bearings up 12.9%. And another large increase was in filter kits, which was up 37.2%. Tires was another one, which are heavily mileage dependent. They were up 6.0%, both quarter over quarter and year over year. Since these components are affected by mileage, it reinforces our earlier comment that it's likely the higher freight volumes and mileage having a big impact in the volume increases in these particular systems.
Right, and you mentioned transmissions there, and now, as you know, it's one of my favorite things to talk about, because when we started doing this, we started doing this maybe a year and a half ago, maybe even longer now. We had found that we were digging in the transmission service data. We were seeing some mild increases there on the AMT service on the transmission, which was kind of a new trend as we were digging into it. Now we're talking about transmission service on both the AMT and the manual side. Where are we at with that trend? I know we had discussed a potential recall issue impacting service last time. Did we see any impact from the service recall, or what's going on in that trend?
Yeah, I think we're still seeing, more in the AMT space, more operations on those particular systems than we do on the main manual. And so that trend is continuing to increase. I know we've talked about it extensively in some of our past conversations. As it relates to, that recent transmission recall, we definitely, as I mentioned above, saw significant increases in those year-over-year service activities, and we expect that recall was responsible for some portion of that increase.
One of the other things that we've seen here, we've seen some consistency within some of the same systems, right? So we're talking VMRS systems, some of those same systems requiring the most service across all vehicle age brackets. And vehicle age is something that we've been looking at here over the past couple conversations. Can you tell me about what explains that consistency in those systems?
Absolutely, Jason. So there's several systems that consistently require the most service regardless of the vehicle age. For vehicle age, we track the service activity for each of those 25 VMRS systems across 4 distinct age buckets: 0 to 3 years, 3 to 6 years, 6 to 9 years, and 9 or more years. The best example of consistent service activity across those age buckets is in power plant, which continues to rank the highest in volume in Q3 2024 in all age brackets. Power plant service activity has held this top spot across all 4 age brackets since Q4 2023. We also see things like air conditioning, heating, and ventilating service activity, which we seem to be discussing a lot today, fairly consistently across all 4 age brackets. The service activity for that one was in 4th place ranking among the oldest vehicles for the second quarter in a row. In the 3 earlier age brackets, the systems ranked 5th in service volume. Brakes are also one of the other top drivers of service activity across all age brackets. As you can imagine, you want to have good brakes, want to have good engines, keep these things on the road. Brakes ranked 4th in the 0 to 3 year bucket and 3 to 6 year categories, and was 3rd among the later age brackets.
Very good. So, all right, this is the time where I put you on the spot here. So when we look at Q4 then, I think you've alluded to it already here as well. When we look at the next set of quarter data, that would be Q4 2024. Any predictions for what we might see in terms of truck service in that?
I'm definitely curious whether the overall service activity trends will continue. We talked earlier about the last couple quarters have been going down. Based on what I've seen with service activity being down for those last 2 quarters, I actually expect this trend to reverse in the next quarter. My prediction is that we'll see a quarter over quarter increase somewhere in the range of 3 to 5% increase when looking at Q4 compared to Q3 of 2024. And that's really just kind of comparing back to what are the volumes? What are the seasonality, as we talked about a little bit earlier on the call here? What are the things that tend to tick up in that Q4, Q1 timeframe, and whether that's going to happen again? I do think that trend will continue. So I expect that we'll see a slight increase of 3 to 5% for Q4 2024.
Very cool. I look forward to talking to that. And I know, look, I got to say, we sit here just a couple weeks out from TMC. You all always have a great presence at TMC, release a great report there. So, Nick, I look forward to hearing more of that at TMC. I look forward to the next time we get to talk on the quarterly data. And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you again for the opportunity, Jason. It's great chatting with you.